I'm doing good. BulletRage is a fast-paced, top-down, balls-to-the-wall arcade shoot-'em-up in the vein of Smash TV or Robotron, with a good bit of bullet hell influence. If you've watched the channel, you'll know I've had issues with this camera angle before, and yes, I'm still a little misaligned. But that's okay, because BulletRage is really, really cool, and it's got me covered in other ways. This is a preview. I do not believe this counts as a sponsored video. I'm not making money from it outside of YouTube ads. A friend of the developers is on my Discord, and he asked me to make a video on the game, so I'm a step removed there. He wants BulletRage to do well, and I'm flattered he asked. I hope it does as well. The game is currently going for a Kickstarter campaign, and has been worked on for 3 years at this point. So, humanity has been conquered by an alien race, and now we are little more than food or entertainment for our alien overlords. And hey, I'm gonna give them a show. Let them go to bed at night worried that I'm getting out of the green room. I talk about story a lot in my videos, but this is fine, just give me my motivation. If I die, I wind up a burger.
Galaxy Burger, we got another pickup.
I don't want that. I am a little disappointed that there's no alien announcer that we can't understand, but maybe that's for the full game. At the start, we pick between a focus fire machine gun or a spread out missile launcher. They come with different utility attacks and specials. This is something that will see expansion. Between these two options, I'm more for the missile launcher. Not just because it accounts better for my lack of accuracy, but because instead of a 360 slice to clear room, it gives me a bullet parry. Just like Moses. Not that the aliens would know. I love games where you play out a televised event. Futuristic bloodsport is an angle that's woefully undertapped in my opinion, but a game where a crowd is watching where my combo multiplier are the ratings I'm pulling? Yeah, I'm immediately in the mindset to play hard, play aggressive, and give everyone a show. Oh no. I went into the tutorial and lost viewers. Actually, there's something funny about that. The ratings plummet on death, so I guess the aliens watching are sympathetic to us? I mean, either that or I'm only getting the human ratings? I don't know, I doubt humans have much access to television, but we do get front row seats. No danger there. So, what's the gameplay like? Well, it's really fun. There is a satisfying crunch to destroying things, and you are destroying a lot of things. If you've killed 1,680 things in 11 minutes, those were 11 valuable minutes. One thing that BulletRage is already nailing down is a really distinct and enjoyable flow through a stage. Ground gain always feels hard won, and it always feels like the enemy is pushing to take it back. The visuals may look really busy, but thanks to how enemies are lit against the stage, I never feel confused as to what's going on. At least until it wants me confused. More on that in a second, it's not a negative. So it always feels like you're crashing against this great tide of enemies. Sometimes you falter and lose a bit of ground, but eventually, through killing enough things with power-ups dropping, kill streaks triggering spins of a wheel, and unleashing ultra attacks, you start gaining ground more rapidly. That slow push turns into a mad sprint as waves of enemies just turn to mush against you. And as you kill faster, more stuff drops, the screen becomes more cluttered, both with the temporary power-ups you gain and the debuffs. And explosions. But let's talk about the debuffs. The debuff system is really simple but really cool. If you decide to pick them up, you get penalties such as inverted controls, pixelated or darkened vision, but you build rage faster, and rage powers your ultra attack and your boost. Get angrier to get stronger. That momentum and flow I talked about, when I enter that state of flow, the game sort of goes along with it. You get better at killing, but you get blinded, disoriented, and confused. It's like the game has a natural built-in combat high, and when flow breaks and you return to normal, the game sort of slows down and comes back to reality with you. It's really interesting. Trying to maintain that flow as long as possible goes in tandem with the player and the mechanics, and its culmination always leaves me wanting to get it going back up again. And let's talk more about the rage meter. It's a simple trade-off, but it ties into that sense of flow. You can cash it all in at once for an ultra attack, or a chunk of it for a dash. The dash is an attack, a dodge, and a relocation all in one. I use it to dash into enemy hordes, snatch health and power-ups, and quickly pull back, or to dodge through and around bullet patterns. But it isn't unlimited, and dashing is costing me a heavy-hitting attack. I've had to weigh up while under heavy gunfire being rushed on all sides if I want to play defensively and mobile with dashes and wetting on power-ups, or to play slower but more aggressively, more risky, to build meter and go for an ultra. And if that ultra goes well, I could well be positioned to get another one real soon. While this demo is only one stage, I hope it's indicative of the design philosophy. It's highly replayable as it is very rewarding to learn. Enemies won't come infinitely and forever. You can exhaust an area, and there are bonuses that count down, giving weaker bonuses if you take too long to get to them. Playing slow, hanging around the same segment of stage, content in just killing enemies, will often end up costing you score, end up weakening how many power-ups you can stack at once. This one stage has peaks and troughs, and I hope that informs how stages will flow, at least on some level, as it does it very well. As I played, I started to learn what areas I could stick around to build some forward speed, versus places where I had to rush to carry power-ups I already had. Some of the arena segments offer a couple of routes or an extra loop that can be worked into a route. The game is constantly pulling you forward. Even as you are knee-deep in the dead, it urges you through its mechanics and enemies to always go against the tide, even when it is at full strength. Because that's also where you are strongest. It's a simple game, yet it has enough to juggle and keep invested that I was playing with a rewarding constant pressure. And I will say, it isn't really that taxing to keep on top of mentally. It really boils down to the fact that if you're killing things, you're doing good out there. But you can always be killing things with that little bit more flair, that little bit more oomph. Are these giant things cameras? I don't know, but they like it when I destroy them. Perhaps by doing that I'm playing into some image of humans as little more than thoughtless, destructive brutes. I'm only too happy to prove them right. This is also a bullet hell game, plenty of emphasis on dodging, blocking, and with that parry, returning shots. It's why that constant pressure works. You have to be mobile and dynamic. I may be killing tens if not hundreds of enemies per minute, but they are giving as good as they get, bobbing and weaving shots while keeping up your own pressure. The bosses really pull out the patterns. This is presumably the first stage, and their patterns are pretty simple, but, well, you've got a lot to deal with. I'd say as someone who isn't massively into this genre, I'm really liking this game. Also, it does have several difficulties. The higher you go, the less health you have, and the faster enemies move. I can manage insanity, but going higher and we're tipping over what I'm capable of. Look, I'm nearly in the top 10 despite not clearing this difficulty. Most of the people in the top 10 haven't finished the stage. Hats off to Mr. Unbecoming. In fact, he should take off his hat as well. He's got to make room for a crown. Hard was where I found my comfortable level of enjoyment. I still got to work to get a good flow going, and it feels risky, but I don't feel like I'm liable to die from a light scratch. And the enemies aren't moving at super speed, they're not moving faster than I can reasonably damage most of them. I talk mostly about gameplay, but the presentation as well is good and gaudy. The announcer captures a fitting comedic vibe for this game and has really good delivery.
Who wants to see a land of a battle?
Despite a grim premise and downbeat visuals, it's a really fun, empowering and light-hearted experience that's harkening back to an older genre of games with a modern look and a good bit of its own identity. I'll have a link to the Kickstarter and the Steam store page in the description, and I hope I've piqued your interest.